Splice Original. Splice Original.
Good morning. I do have my work cut out for me. Very odd. I was pretty impressed. I'm gonna do what I always do on these trucks. And that just happens to be my thing, by the way. This paint job's probably 5-6 years old. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. And here he is leaving. It wasn't quite as fun as I was expecting. And that starts right about now. Okay, now at this point I've got all the body work and glazing done on the main part of the hood, and now I'm going to concentrate on the spots you see up here that have already been prepped. Those are just some little bitty dings I want to take care of. And then this lip right here, all the way across is a little wavy, like somebody got in there and didn't do a good job straightening it up. So I'm going to go ahead and do glazing on this entire lip, and then on these little spots here, get all smoothed up. And then at that point I'll be ready to go ahead and finish sanding everything I haven't already sanded and put the whole thing in high build epoxy primer. Well, okay, gang, I think I've got this hood pretty much ready to go. I've got all the sanding done, all the scratching done. I've got all the body work done, got the glazing done. And just like the rest of this truck, I was dealing with a very wavy, uneven surface, as you can tell. I went down to bare metal, so I didn't just screw around and put a huge layer on top of what was there and level it all out. I actually started from, in a lot of spots, bare metal. And like right here and here and here, those are bare metal. Some of these are primer, but a lot of them are bare metal, which means that I've used the smallest amount of body work I can with a completely flat factory looking result. That's really all you can ask for. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and let this sit because it's ready for high build epoxy primer. I'm going to move on to this up here, and I already have my newly appointed light pointing toward it. What the plan for this morning is to go ahead and prep all of the areas on the back that need body work, chips that need filled, little dings, that sort of thing. Get all the body work done on the back here. I'll have the crew come in early afternoon. It's mid-morning right now. I'll have the crew come in early afternoon. We'll go ahead and finish scratching and sanding and getting this guy completely ready to go so I can maybe even get some high build epoxy primer on everything here today. Okay, gang, at this point, the back of the truck, the passenger side of the truck, the driver's side of the truck, the entire box, and the entire hood are all completely ready for high build epoxy primer. Now, as you remember, I've already high build epoxy primed this box and boarded it down. So it needs epoxy primed again so I can sand it down again with 320, but that's not gonna happen today because that doesn't matter today. What actually matters today is getting the cab and hood in high build epoxy primer. That way, once I've boarded all of this down, just the same as I did the box, then I can reprime everything. The box, the cab, the hood, everything. And then I can sand it all down with 320 and I don't have to worry about boarding it down. I can sand it down by hand, I can sand it down with the DA, both. Well, good morning, gang. As you saw yesterday, I got the primer on the hood. I also got the primer on the rest of the truck. Now, the goal today is going to be to get this all boarded or blocked down. And again, what that means is I'm going to be taking a block this size and others of other sizes and shapes, depending on what I'm working on. And I'm going to be making all of this as flat as I can possibly make it. And I already did that with the bodywork and the glazing, for sure. But this is an extra step that I typically will take on restorations and vehicles like that I don't normally take on work trucks, because most work trucks that that you've even seen roll through here, they don't necessarily require this step. All the steps that we do are the ones that we need to do to make the truck nice again, and we do it all the time. But when you got something that was bent from front to back, and even the new panels on the side of the box that showed up were dented and dinged and wavy. So the whole thing is nothing but bodywork, and that's why you saw me board down the box after I had primed it. And it's sitting there all boarded down and it hasn't been reprimed yet, because I'm going to be doing that at the same time that I do this. So what I want to do here this morning is I want to take some time and board all of this down, and then also block down the hood as well. Get everything 100% ready to go and smoothed up so I can get on to the next step, which would be to prime this again, of course. But if I have enough daytime left, because today's gonna be a beautiful day, somehow it's gonna get up to almost 50 maybe today, and it's supposed to be nice. So, I definitely don't want to miss that opportunity. It's like December, I don't know, 14th or something, 15th today. And so I don't want to miss the opportunity to take advantage of a 50-degree day and get outside and get this chassis sandblasted and the floor sandblasted as well. So I really want to try and make time this afternoon for that. So there might be a chance that I'll end up just sanding and sanding and sanding. And if the middle of the afternoon gets here before I'm done, still just stopping what I'm doing, breaking away, getting this truck outside, getting it sandblasted while it's as nice as it's going to get today. and then getting it pulled back in so it's ready to go for tomorrow. Okay, gang, we're in mid-afternoon here, and I'm gonna have to shut down what I'm doing and get my stuff cleaned up and shift gears because it's a really nice day out. It's calm out, really warm for the time of year. It's upper 40s. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this thing outside, get the chassis and the floors also sanded here, or sandblasted. So I'm gonna have to cut away. As you can see, that's what I've got boarded down on this side, just from here down. Nothing else on this side. Using just this board and 2 of these. I'm just alternating them out, but they have the same sandpaper on them. And I've done the back. I haven't used a DA or anything, just boarding it flat. And then I got all this up here. Now here's something interesting. This right here, see that dark spot? That's why you board that flat. Not only to get it flat, if you want to get it flat, that's what you do. So that's your primary reason, but secondarily, it shows you what parts are beyond repair. I couldn't sand this down far enough with the board to get that out. And if I tried to, it'd just be a huge swale in it then. And it'd be a bunch of work and it would be ugly and dumb when I'm done. But this just shows me that there's a little bit of a ding here still left. There's a little bit of an oddity still left here that I need to get. And you can see it for the darkness in there. Same as right here. There's another one. Slightly right there. And even up here on the side, see I've got this side here boarded down. And even like right here, you can see there's a ding in it that I never even noticed until I hit it with the, until I sanded over it. You just have to keep everything flat, and if you do that, it'll show you all the spots. There's another little ding. So that's the 2 big reasons you board something down, even though it's a ton of work. It's mid-afternoon. This is all I've gotten done so far, and it's exhausting work. It's some of the hardest physical labor a person can undertake, and I've done quite a few different labor-intensive jobs in my life, and I gotta say, there's almost nothing more labor-intensive than really getting after it, sanding down bodywork or boarding down primer or filler or anything like that. That's all the same action. Pushing on something like that and boarding it down and being thoughtful while you're doing it, it's some of the most exhausting work you can do. And so this is all I can do today because I've run out of time. And I'm gonna go ahead and get everything picked up here and get this guy pulled outside so I can get everything sandblasted that I want to here this afternoon and get it pulled back in before dark. Well, okay, I got the chassis, both the top and the underside of the floor on both the driver and passenger side, all sandblasted. Everything's clean, everything's ready to go. And what you just saw was me running back into the shop with my very last load of sand to get inside of here. See that? Did the same with that corner. You can't really see anything when you're doing it, so you're just aiming with sheer hope, mostly. But I got it pretty good. And the reason that that's important is because I'm going to be putting a fiberglass patch over all of that. All that garbage where those panels don't come together smooth and it doesn't look good. And I'm not going to put up with that. I'm just going to grind those welds down a little bit to where they're not so, where they don't stick out quite so far. And then I'm going to go ahead and just put fiberglass panels in there and then do body work over it. And you'll never ever know that there was that sort of mischief going on. Not to mention with that kind of prep, that kind of solid prep that I just did, it took me 15 seconds to prep that. It would have taken me at least an hour to prep it, and I would have only gotten to prep it about 3/4 as good, using all kinds of hand tools and crowded up in the corner of the bed, and you know, spending quite a bit of time on it, and it wouldn't have gotten it nearly as good as what this just got it. And being prepped that well and having a fiberglass patch over it just means that that corner is going to be even that much stronger. Well, good morning, gang. Well, as you saw, I got all the sandblasting done on this old Ford yesterday, and now here this morning, first thing, the boys are going to come in. They're going to start cleaning up and masking the interior. We just, like I mentioned before, we didn't start on that because I was getting ready to have a heck of a lot of sand in there. And now that all that sandblasting is done, as you can see, and then I just went ahead and got the seat and everything. I didn't bother getting up here. We'll just go ahead and prep all this by hand, prep all this by hand. I definitely didn't want to stir up any sparks on the gas tank. But I did go ahead and just hit all this. But I got those thoroughly. As you can see, look at all the holes in the floor. Tons of holes in the floor. Oh, well over a dozen. This side isn't as bad, and I didn't expect it to be. You always expect the driver's side to be worse. They're packing in water more and more often than a passenger would usually. And so I guess it goes without saying that when the boys show up here in a few minutes, I'm going to have them come in here and get everything cleaned up, get everything wiped down, any additional wax and grease work or any additional thinner work done, everything done. Then we'll go ahead, get everything 100% masked up in here. And while they're working on that, I'll be working on this hood. I didn't get a chance to work on it yesterday. I mean, you know what the schedule was yesterday. I was trying to block sand as much as I could until mid-afternoon, and then take the truck outside and go ahead and get the sandblasting done and get it back in before dark. I did all that, and it all worked out great. So now here this morning, while they're doing that interior, I'm gonna be working on this hood, getting it all blocked down. And when I'm done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and come over here and figure out and apply those fiberglass patches. And then after that, we'll see where we're at with the boys' progress, and we'll just go from there. Okay, now I've finished up all the boarding down and hand sanding on the hood, and I'll show you a few of the things that it revealed. And this is a big reason you want to take this step, because even if you're good at spreading body work, and even if you're good at sanding it, and even if you're good at feeling it with your hand and knowing if it's high or low, you don't know to the degree that the eye can pick it up in fresh gloss until you take this step. So here we've got, you see this dark spot? That's shallow. You need to put some glazing in there. Shallow, shallow. And you can't chase these. If you chase these, you're just gonna have a swale. Once I hit this, where this is orange right here, and this is orange, once I hit these and I knew I was spanning this, all I was gonna do from this point on is dig down into it. And you don't wanna do that. Once you barely start to unveil it, you know that you've sanded about as far as you can in most cases. So here, there, you know, there's a spot. There's a very pronounced one. I mean, that's almost a dent. Another one there. And then I uncovered a few high spots along the way too. This was up just way too high. My glazing was up too high. Their paint was up too high. Their primer was up too high. Their primer was up too high. There, right there, we've hit bare metal. We know we can't sand beyond that, or we're just gonna have a high spot. So, and this all came out fairly flat. So I'm not unhappy with it, but this is the way you get accuracy. If you want it to be a good looking work truck, then you take this step, you put the heavy build epoxy primer on there, you sand it all down with a DA sander, and try and make things good and even like you've seen me do a million times, and you paint it and it'll look good. It'll be a good looking vehicle. But if you want it to be completely right, where people that know what they're doing can look at it and not find stuff in it, where critics can look at it and appreciate it, then you have to take this step. You have to prime it in high build, board it all down, prime it in high build again, then sand it down with something mellow like 320, and then go over everything by hand, all these details like these corners, all this sort of stuff by hand, and then feel it all down again, make sure it's all 100%, and then you're ready to epoxy prime and paint. That's if you're doing a restoration or a show car or something like that. If you're doing a work truck, you can do them the way you've seen me do them on 100 videos or 150 videos or however many it's been. Mostly you get everything good and flat, you get everything trustworthy, you get it in high build epoxy primer, you do a good responsible job sanding it down with a DA, most times you're ready to go. But if you're doing a restoration or a show car, you have to take this extra step. Sometimes you have to take it twice. Sometimes you have to reprime it again, board it down again, and then you have to reprime it again and then sand it again, and then you're ready. If you want it to be right, that's the price you got to pay. And so here, we've got the boys busy. They've gotten all cleaned up. They're masking on it now. And I'm going to be doing some of the remainder of the boarding down that I need to do up here. I still need to block down this fender and the top of this door. I won't be doing anything with this door while they're in there, but I'll be doing this fender. And another thing that I'll be doing here this afternoon, but like this box, I did it a few days ago. And everything I sanded will be ready to go literally forever. It's done, it's ready to go. It's ready for its next primer, its next step. But this part here that didn't get sanded or scratched, and parts like that, if they didn't get sanded or scratched the other day, they need to get sanded or scratched now, because we're past our 3-day limit. And if we want to put anything else over it, we got to make sure that we remember to scratch that. So that'll be something else I do today. Get everything else completely ready to go, and hopefully before I leave today, I'll have the fiberglass done in here, and I'll have all this stuff in its newest coat of primer. Well, okay, gang, I'm all sanded, all scratched, front to back. Everything's prepped and ready for its next coat of primer. And these areas up in here, are ready for the fiberglass repairs that I'm getting ready to do. And I'm also ready to do the floor in the truck here. All I really need to do is come in here with a blow tip, blow this out, because they were in here working and masking and stuff today, so there's a little bit of sand and stuff in the bottom. I'll go ahead and blow all that out, get that ready. And what I'm planning on doing is taking this fiberglass resin and activating it, and using this roller tray and this little kind of mini roller here. And I'm going to use that to lay down my first layer. And I'm gonna do that on both repairs. I'm gonna do that in the box, and I'm gonna do that on the floor. I'm just gonna lay it out, just a nice layer, a nice respectable layer of fiberglass resin. Then I'm gonna go ahead and put the matting in it. Then I'm gonna go ahead and do another layer of resin over the top of that with the roller again and seal it all in there nice and tight. That'll make for the most solid repair here, and it'll make it airtight. There basically won't be any bubbles in it or anything in the inside of the pickup as well. Remember I told you that that would speckle a little bit like a planetarium with a light source underneath it? Just little holes everywhere, all over the place. Good morning, gang. Well, as you saw yesterday, I blocked down everything I wanted to get blocked down. I got my fiberglass patches placed on the floor and on the inside of the box, and I even managed to squeeze in getting this guy back in primer, the front of the truck, the hood, and the box, all by the end of the day. Long day, not as much fun as I've ever had, but got it all done. And now this morning I can start fresh here. The crew's gonna walk in here any second now, and I'm gonna go ahead and keep them busy on the cab interior. But just before I put them in there, I need to crawl around in there with a light and a 3-inch roll-lock disc and just a drill, standard drill, and just knock down all the little burrs that might be in there. I don't need those guys in there going in there and stabbing and cutting themselves first thing this morning, because I didn't do that. So that's gonna be the very first thing I do before I have them in there. And then as soon as I'm done with that and I get all the fiberglass dust blown out of there and such, they'll go ahead and finish up their masking in there. I have 3 toggle switches I want to go ahead and remove. I'm just going to put little push-in plugs in their place. So if the owner wants to put any of those toggle switches back, he can. But the fact is, all 3 of them on that dash actually go to nothing, because this was a fire truck. It belonged to the fire department. So it had the lights on it, it had sirens, it had CB radio, that's why all the antenna holes in the roof, and that's why the antenna hole on all the antenna damage on the left side of the cab, or the passenger side of the cab. You know, and that's why all those toggles, and those toggles don't go to anything anymore. There's just a bunch of wiring out in different spots in the engine compartment that really doesn't need to be there anymore. That's not my issue. I'm not being paid to be a mechanic on this truck. We're just doing the body work. But you know, that's one of the first things I would do if I got the truck back, is I would go ahead and remove all that wiring and everything that's not going to be powered by the truck in the future. I'd remove all the wiring, and I'm going to start that process today by having the boys remove all 3 of those toggle switches, and I'll just push in little chrome plugs in their place. So it won't be tasteless, and if the owner wants to put another toggle switch in at any time, he's got a hole there to do it. And while I got the boys finishing up everything they need to in the cab, and that's going to be a while, because once they're all done masking, there is a bunch of sanding and meticulous scratching, and it's going to be a pain. I hate doing interiors. So once they're done working on that, who knows how far I'll be. But what I'll be doing in the meantime is I will be sanding all this stuff back down with probably 320 on a DA sander, and then probably 400 on the hand. And I'll get all this stuff sanded back down today, and ready for its actual epoxy primer today. Maybe by tonight, I'll have this truck in epoxy primer. Well, here's what that repair, at least on the passenger side, looks like first thing the next morning. It's completely cured out. I haven't touched it at all. Haven't done a single thing to it. This is what it looks like. Just a nice, fresh fiberglass panel. And this is, again, the advantage of using that roller setup, where I soaked it really good in the resin, then I put the matting down, then I went ahead and soaked it again in resin, all while just pushing down nice and even and smooth with a roller. That got rid of all the air bubbles, any chance of everything, and it created suction. I mean, it's actually down in all the grooves. It's down in everything. It's 100% penetrated every single part of this that it possibly can, including all those little tiny holes and even the bigger hole. You can see through it because it's fiberglass, but you know, that's not a problem now. And what I'll do underneath is when I crawl down under there and shine a light up under there, what I see is perfectly good sheet metal. It's not rusted under there. It wasn't rusted at all, not even 1%. All of that cancer came from up top. So there's no reason for me to put a fiberglass patch underneath. It was already doing its thing. It's fine. So what I am going to do underneath is put little patches where the bigger holes were. I'll just put little patches just to seal it up from both sides for almost no good reason. And then I'll go ahead and give it a good primer and paint it, because it really doesn't need anything under there. It's in great shape, in fact. So all this cancer came from up top, and why wouldn't it? You know, years and years and years of wet shoes and boots coming in and out of this truck and just soaking the carpet, and it just stays that way for sometimes years. So, and this is an old truck too, so it just makes sense. Again, you can see here's the driver's side, and it's all sucked into all the grooves. It's just a very, very tidy way to repair something like this. So if you've got an old Mustang or something like that that's got the floorboards rotted out, if there's anything to attach fiberglass to, you can just glass it. And if you need to glass it from both sides, do it that way, and then you're done. There's a 100% chance it's never going to rust. It's going to be every bit as strong and durable as it ever was, and you're done. Set it and forget it. And here's those repairs I did inside of the box. Not really a repair so much, but just went from this ridge over, and you can easily see through it because it's fiberglass, but it's just a good solid patch. And I went over it once I get it all placed. I went over it all with a roller, so it sucked into all the nooks and crannies of something that I just sandblasted. So I mean, it's got maximum adhesion right there. There's no way you're getting that to come loose. Now I'm going to go ahead and run a die grinder with a cutting wheel on it right along this, just to finally cut where it went out onto this on the bottom. That's why I put the tape there, as I knew it would. And I'll just cut that line right there, cut any lines up the side that might need it, and then go ahead and peel the tape up along with the remnants of what I've cut off. And I'll do that on both sides. And then start cleaning it up, starting with this edge, and hit it all with a DA sander, get it all to be smooth, because this panel right here is going to end up getting body work. That floor absolutely is not. That makes no sense. It's rock solid. It's ready to go. We'll paint it, and then we'll put padding on it and then carpeting on that, and everything will be great. There's no reason for body work on that. But I do want to cover this with body work so you don't see any evidence of any of this other stuff, or the fact that this is even fiberglass. It'll all just look like a panel. And here's what they look like after I got them all cleaned up and ready for the next step, which is going to be body work. Same with the other side. Well, okay, I got the body work all finished. Here's how this side came out. I still have to sand that sort of thing down, get rid of this sticker, sand out and around here so I can get some primer on this. I'll also have to sand in here and scratch in here for that as well. But the initial body work and glazing are both done on this side. And this side's finished as well. Now, as I mentioned, the goal is going to be to get them all cleaned up and get them ready for wet sanding primer. While I'm at it, I'm gonna go get the tailgate, bring it back in here, and get it completely coated in thinner. I could use wax and grease remover on it, but thinner actually does a better job than wax and grease remover at wax and grease remover's own job, except for you can't use thinner on a whole lot of different sort of coatings, so it disqualifies it almost immediately for, you know, that sort of domestic sort of use. But when you're doing something that's bare aluminum or steel or something like that, then yeah, it's gonna work better. And so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and get it all cleaned up just as soon as I get it out of this storage area and get it back in there. But since I got you here in this storage area, you see we've got some chrome that goes around the inside of the wheel wells to go back on, pad, that goes underneath the carpeting, some tailgate parts, some lights, some door panels, inner door panels. Here's the carpeting for it. And then a big box of just a million parts. So there's still quite a few steps to do on this truck, but the step I'm on right now is getting this tailgate out of here and getting it moved over there. Okay, since the last time I had this camera on, I was moving these seatbelt covers here, and I noticed this one had a crack in it. Pretty decent sized crack from here all the way around to about here. I don't know if you can see it close enough or not, but nonetheless, I prepped the inside and put a good sized fiberglass repair on it, so now that's fixed. Then I got the tailgate over here, completely coated it in thinner. I mean, washed it with thinner thoroughly on both sides, got all that oily residue off. Then I took a die grinder with 36 grit on it and on a 2-inch roll-lock disc and prepped every one of those, because all these pinch welds had just this little jagged edge poking up that would have messed with my body work. So I ground them all down. Then I just gave it a light once over with that same 36 grit. And then I went over the whole thing with 150 grit out to here and out to here, so I can later on wet sand prime this, high build epoxy prime this. And then I prepped these the same way. I prepped all the way around there with the sandpaper with a DA with 150 grit after I ground these out, just to make sure they didn't have a little burr, and almost every single one of them did. Now at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and get all my, probably just glazing, put glazing on there, sand it down, and get this ready for primer, so I can go ahead and get this primed and get the front of the box primed in those two spots here tonight yet. Okay, now at this point I've got the initial body work done on the tailgate, and I'm gonna go ahead and start working on the glazing. And the more I look at these pinch welds, the less impressed that I am, especially these ones up here. These ones are gonna be up on this big nice surface right here. They're gonna be right here, just poking right out at the person, and they're sticking out a lot. I don't remember Fords having those pinch welds. I remember there's a possibility of some right here, but I don't remember there being 3 big obvious pinch welds right up on that panel. Kind of tasteless. So while I'm here, I might just try and knock those back with a shrinking hammer and get some glazing on them as well. Okay, well, I've taken this tailgate and I moved it to some sawhorses in a little more advantageous part of the shop. And what I've done was I took this hammer and punch rather than just a shrinking hammer, and just tapped these little areas back. Every one of them was protruding out, and so I tapped them all back on both sides. And then I took a 2-inch roll-lock disc with 36 grit on it and fully prepped them. And then I took 180 grit and just sanded everything else out and around it. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get some filler or glazing. I'm not sure, some of these, when I tapped them back, you know, made a divot, which is what I was trying to do. And so I might do filler first, but either way, I'm gonna go ahead and go through that process and get everything all finished here. Get the filler and glazing done here, get the glazing done here, here, and here, and clean this tailgate up a little bit. Well, okay, I got the body work and the glazing all done on this. And what's happened here in this spot is that down here you can see that there's no seam. This just is a bend, that's it. Down here, that was an actual seam, and the other part of this bend was about 1/8 of an inch down, if not more. Now, had both sides been like that, had this side been like that and this side been like that, and they'd both been creased the same, I would have known looking at them that they weren't stock Ford, but if they were the same as each other, they wouldn't really draw the eye and I would have left them. But their process, they don't just squash these into a mold. This is a multi-step process, most likely. It's not like I've ever seen it happen, but I've seen every episode of how it's made and everything like it ever. So I can tell you that a lot of this metal bending is done in phases. And it's likely that this wasn't just squashed into a mold, it's actually done in phases. And one of the phases was one of their machines just didn't get their calibration right and pushed in this seam, the thing that pushes this part in, the top of it, instead of stopping right here and just shoving it in, the edge of that mold was out here. So it shoved this down like another 1/8 of an inch, so there was an extra seam right there and right there. And it's not on the other side, so I had to do something about it. I'm right there anyway, so that's why I went ahead and filled that in, get rid of that seam. Got all of those pinch welds gone, got all of those pinch welds gone, same with those. So at this point, I'm ready to go ahead and mix up some high build epoxy, get it on these spots, get it on those 2 spots, so that can be curing while I'm sanding the rest of this truck. Well, okay gang, at this point, I've got the hood sanded as much as I'm going to. I've got the tailgate all fixed up, and I got my wet sanding primer on there yesterday, and then today I went ahead and got it sanded down. Now I need to sand down everything else. All the rest of this steel, flip it over, sand down the other side. Got the boys in here today. We're doing nothing but sanding. They're gonna finish up the interior. We unmasked that thing that we had on the back of the cab. We only had that masked up so we didn't have to prep it that day. I was in a hurry to get primer on it, and then we just left it masked up until this time. So we got it unmasked. Now we've got that prepped. We're gonna be prepping the inside of the bed. We're gonna be prepping the back side of the hood. Like I said, the back side of the tailgate. I mean, just a whole nother long day of details is what this is gonna be. And then I have to resand this right here because this brand new sheet metal here had an outie of all things, a crease right here that came out, and I beat it back with a shrinking hammer yesterday because I came through and I blocked all this, and somehow it got by me, but I saw the shiny steel sticking out in a band, and I'm like, what is that, a high spot? And I ran my hand across it. Yeah, it was a noticeable high spot. So, and it ran about right here. So I tapped in with a shrinking hammer, did some body work yesterday, and primed over that as well, so I can fix that too. Multiple things I've had to fix in this brand new sheet metal. We got to go ahead and sand and scratch these, of which I repaired that one. Which one? Oh, it was this one. Yesterday or a couple days ago. I got the hood hinges off and took them outside and just absolutely drenched them in wax and grease remover because, you know, they get sprayed a lot from WD-40 and things like that over the years. So I drenched them. We're going to go ahead and scratch them and prep them and paint them as well. And then, just like that, Kitrix sanding the, scratching the glove box lid. And as you can see, there's no shiny. There's not one tiny bit of shiny. This is fully prepped, even though this is getting a door panel. Fully prepped. Same with in here. 100% prepped. You aren't going to find a shiny spot anywhere that they have already finished. You're going to find a few in here because they're still working on it, but down in there, 100% prepped and masked meticulously. And then we'll also have to scratch and sand the front of the bed here while we're doing all those other details. So we got our hands full. We have a whole day's worth of work to do before we can even think about the idea of priming this thing. Okay, now I'm busy prepping on this tailgate here, and here's how many more flaws I found. Here's was a good size outie. The rest of these are just little anomalies that would show up in the gloss easily. Just, I don't know what, they're not dents or anything, they're just anomalies. You can just feel them with your hand. This, where the press pushed this little rib in, actually dented it on the end, on both ends. There's a ding right there. Quite a few flaws, actually. So I'm glad I'm getting them handled now, and maybe I'll get them in wet sanding primer today, but if they're not that big a deal, I'll just glaze over the top of them again to get the pinholes out, and then we'll be ready for primer on this side. Morning, gang. Well, it's first thing the next morning. The crew's going to walk through the door here any second, and I just want to show you we're just about to the point to blow this out and give it a final inspection, and then go ahead and get it in primer here probably today. But, you know, here's what we've got. Look, it's primed. I didn't tell them to take it to bare metal. I just said we take it down to where it's going to be realistic and reliable. And, you know, and even in here, it's no shiny, nothing, no shiny spots, no glimmers in any of these details, And this thing is loaded with details. This was black yesterday. Now look at it, it's bare metal. The floor's bare metal. I mean, it's thorough. The masking's thorough. Look how thorough. We're gonna go ahead and throw something in here, maybe fill it full of towels or something like that so this doesn't get painted. You can't get it out, not without breaking things. And you can't get it out from below either. Look at this tank, we're down to metal. Look around in here. We still have a little bit of scratching to do. I see a little glimmer on this guy. But this is going to get covered up. It's not super important. I could actually mask this if I wanted. I could pull that bolt and take it out of there if I wanted. So this isn't as much a deal, but these covers we are prepping. They're not prepped yet. It's one of the things we have yet to do. But this is going to get a headliner, so it's not going to get anything. But yeah, you look how thorough this is. And today, this is all going to probably get put in primer. And the gear shifters and the pedals and that sort of stuff down there, the steering column, are all going to get painted black. And in the meantime, I'm going to be grabbing these two bumpers that are outside. He brought me two different bumpers. I'll show you those here in a second. But right now, I had to reprime this yesterday. because there was dents, not really dents. The press just got out of hand in this little detail, and it put little sways in both of them. This one was bad, and so I did the body work and then just reprimed the whole thing, so I can go ahead and sand out anything else that needs it. Look it over. This is where all those pinch welds were. You can see. I mean, we got rid of them. Pinch welds down here in the corners, we got rid of them. All those pinch welds up there that were tacky as all heck, got rid of them. So this is, and there were some details down here that needed prime too, because it had all kinds of just weird anomalies in the steel down here. So that got reprimed as well after I did the body work. Now at this point, we're ready to sand and scratch the inside of the bed, sand and scratch the underside of the hood. I've already sanded and scratched the backside of the tailgate. So we just got to do the, finish up all the details. Do the inside of the bed, do the underside of the hood. I'm not painting the underside of the bed. There's absolutely no reason. And so that is not something we're going to be dealing with here today. But everything else we're going to get ready for primer, and hopefully in primer by tonight. Okay, well at this point I've got the backside of this hood. We went ahead and turned this hood around, set it up against a pad, one of these pads right here that's up against that table. And then that way we don't have any chance of damage to the other side while leaning up against this shop table here. And I've got it all cleaned up, and it took a lot. That took probably, I don't know, 10, 15 rags just soaked with thinner at least. So got all this all cleaned up now, and now I got it ready to, you can see right there, this saw some heat in the past. I don't know if they were trying to shrink out dents or what they were doing, maybe. But anyway, at this point I'm going to go ahead and get scratch pads and get to scratching. If you ever scratch the underside of a hood or anything like this, the back side of a panel, the inside of a trunk or something like that, do it with leather gloves, because there is a million ways to just absolutely shred your skin. You'll cut yourself clear to the bone messing around under one of these. So you want to wear leather gloves if you ever scratch underneath the hood. But I'm going to get my leather gloves on. I'm going to go ahead and get my scratch pads out and get this all scratched up. All right, the owner brought me two different bumpers. This is one that came off of maybe this truck, but at least a highboy. And you can tell because of the narrowness of the frame. You take the measurement, this would actually bolt up to a highboy frame. But the problem with this one is it's just absolutely had it. It might bolt up to a highboy, but look at that bend. Look at that bend because of it. It's bent all the way through. Getting that straightened out to a reliable degree would be very challenging. And then there's this heavy plate right here, broken away from this heavy plate to the point where you can put your finger in there. You know, it's supposed to be welded to it. That's how broken away and deformed it is. These have been all chopped up. I mean, and this got ripped, got basically cut with a torch or ripped here and here. And then this is supposed to be sticking up like this, but instead it's laid out flat. Like somebody did that on purpose to make it fit something else better. And it's just beat. This is just beat beyond what I want to mess with. And it's the one of the two that'll bolt up to a highboy. Now the other one comes off of an F250 around that year, and it will bolt up, but it won't bolt right up. I need to put shims because it's so much wider, because it's, you know, the highboy's got the narrower frame. So I'm going to need to put shims in it when I bolt it up, but I have to use that one because this one isn't worth messing with. However, it is sitting on the back of the next project we're doing. That big ass trailer right there, that's going under the knife right after this pickup leaves. You know, in here I've got the underside of this completely prepped. You'll see zero shiny spots. It's all been thoroughly prepped. The inside of the bed's getting thoroughly prepped. As you can see, we're going actually to, in a lot of spots, going to bare metal. Not on purpose, it's just thin paint. But we're getting it all prepped. And all this up here is ready to go. You can see where we're going to be painting and where we're not. All this has been prepped. It's all ready to go. It won't be long, I'll be putting primer on this stuff. Now the other bumper I'll show you is right out here. Now this one doesn't fit as far as the width of the frame is concerned. Like I said, it doesn't fit a highboy. I'm gonna have to shim it. It's too wide. But that's far better than that other bumper, because this one is still in pretty good shape. It doesn't have that crease right there. It doesn't have this all mangled. It doesn't have this pushed back and ripped there and there. You know, it's in a lot better shape. Now when I run my hand over it, I realize that this right here is all dented up. This whole stretch is just nothing but wavy dents. This one here is pretty good. So I'm going to get some sand out, get my sandblaster fired up, get this guy all sandblasted inside and out, tape this up with duct tape, get it all sandblasted inside and out, even the underside. And then I'll get it back in the shop here this afternoon so I can do what little straightening there is to do on it and get that body work done as well. Hopefully get that in primer by tonight as well. Well, hi, Mosey. Hi. Hi, Mosey. Well, better get back to it. All right, well, it's been about 15 minutes, I suppose, since the last time I had the camera on. This is all blasted. I got it all back inside, got all my equipment put up. Now, and this is blasted inside and out. All this in here. All these details. And now, I'm gonna go ahead and do all this body work in this stretch. There's a lot of it, actually. This is really uneven. And try and get this in some wet sanding primer today, or at least glazing today, because repair this small doesn't necessarily have to be in wet sanding primer. You can do the body work, glaze over it, and then glaze over it again and get a very similar result. So with something so small, I probably won't bother priming it, but I do want to get it, you know, get the body work finished and get it all ready. Okay, now I've got the body work done on this bumper, and as you can see, it was quite a bit. There was quite a bit wrong with it, but I've got it in glazing. That's all done now. Well, good morning, gang. It's first thing the next morning here, and the way I left this last night was I went ahead and left it in high build epoxy primer. Now I got my block out here this morning with 220 on it, and I'm just going to go ahead and block this down with 220. Then I'm going to hit it with the DA sander, finish cleaning it up, and then I think this is pretty much ready for paint at that point. And the underside of the hood's ready for paint. The other side of the hood's ready for paint. Both sides of that are tailgate are ready for paint. The inside of the box is more than half done, as you can see, because you can still see, you know, the darker spots that you see at the front. Those haven't been hit yet. That's one quick way of telling. And then just details, like you can see here. See how there's no shiny whatsoever, but shiny starts to happen. Well, that's right where they left off. Right where I called it and said, let's go ahead and head home. That's where that one, that's why you can see shiny there and right there and right there, and little spots like that. That's the difference. That's how you can tell. And by the time they're done, it's all gonna look like this. Just zero shiny, 100% scratched and ready. Just like you saw the interior, everything else. And I gotta say, you show me 100 body shops, and I'll show you at least 98 that do not go to this extent. Well, all right, gang. This project's been in my shop for at least 3 weeks, and it's had a million steps, many of which have been challenging, but I think we're just about to the point where I can go ahead and get this guy in primer. Just about. There's a few things left that I got to do before I pull that trigger, and I'll show you what those are. I need to go get a jack up the front, put the jack stands under, do the same with the back. I never remove a single wheel until the whole thing is jacked up and all the wheels are moving independently. That way, if something happens and it comes down off the jack stands, it won't come down onto the drums and clear down onto the floor that way. So first thing I'll do is I'll jack this up, then I'll pull all the wheels and tires off of it. And after I do that, I'm going to go ahead and get a lot of this wiring pulled back out of here, because it's in the way. And when I go to paint this chassis black, there's spots where it's going to be just laying in the paint. And I can't imagine in 100 years that he's going to want to keep this wiring in this truck. Not only is it a simple 4, 5, 6 wires, however many it is, to run, and with pretty easy access, but this wiring is shot. You just simply can't use it anymore. And here's a good example. Now it's easy to think, well, look, you know, you got out of control with your sandblaster. Well, no, I didn't. How come none of this is harmed? Wiring is coated with a soft plastic to almost rubber jacket, which resists sand a lot. You'd have to put the sandblaster right on wiring and hold it there for a while to be able to get through that jacket. It resists sandblasting very well. Now, brittle, dark colored plastic wire loom that wires go in, the little plastic tubing that wires go in, it'll eat that up, especially if you get real close to it, especially if you have aggressive sand. But I didn't use aggressive sand. This didn't have a wire loom, and I didn't get close enough or spend enough time on it. What happened here was, as you can see by the darkness there, look at that darkness. 2 wires got touched somehow and heated up, and when they did, it melted the jackets off of more than 1 wire. We got what looks like 3, maybe 4 wires there with the jackets all melted off. Black on both sides. That's what happened there. So there's no sense in leaving this wiring in here. And so I'm going to go ahead and clip these wire ties, pull all this wiring clear back beyond this point, and then I'm going to coil it up underneath and tie it off to something. So he can decide what he wants to do with it. It's not my business. It's just that it doesn't need to be there with what I'm getting ready to do today. So I'm gonna jack this up, get the tires off of it, and then go ahead and pull that wiring out and get it back out of the way. And another thing I need to do is I need to find a place for all these accessories to go. We got the glove box door here, we got the gas cap, we got these two upper seat belt covers, we got the hood hinges here. I need to put 2 ladders down at the other end of the shop, put a board across the top of the 2 ladders, and then use wiring, and then just, you know, just like mechanics wire, and hang all these things from wire. So I have a place for them to go when we go to prime them, which is going to be at the same time we prime everything else. And then when the time comes, I'm going to go ahead and prime the inside of the hood first. Well, not only because it's furthest from the fan, and that's the way I do things, but also so it can be drying while I'm doing everything else and curing while I'm doing everything else. So when it's cured enough that we can get near it and mess with it, which would be by the time I'm done priming everything else, I'll have somebody come in and help me turn this around so it's facing the other way, so I can go ahead and do the other side of the hood. I'm going to be doing the bumper here in black, so I'll be priming it in black. I'll be priming the tailgate here, both sides of it, in beige. I'll be priming the outside and inside of the box in beige, nothing on the underside. And I'll be priming the chassis in black, the cab, the interior and exterior, all in beige. And then once I've got the primer on it and the primer's cured enough that I can get back in here and work again, I'm going to go ahead today and paint this spring, which goes underneath the inside of the hood. This is what the hood sits down on to give it tension up against its own hood catch. And so I removed it from the hood. It's going to be black. These shifters are going to be black. The pedals are going to be black, and the steering column is going to be black. So I want to make sure that I have those black by the time I leave today. And then I'm also going to go ahead and shoot the bumper as well. And another one of the things I have to do while I'm in here, and then I already ground those down where they were just built up just a little bit from the screws going in them. It kind of amassed the steel around the outer edge and bumped them up a little bit. I went ahead and ground those down with a die grinder. Now I'm going to go ahead and put tape on the backside and get those filled in too. After all those holes are never going to hold anything again. They held, I think, the handle for the CB radio and just some stuff like that. It's never going to go in this truck again. So I'm going to leave the holes for the toggles, but I'm going to put plugs in them, and then I'm just going to plug the other holes. And just like that, those 4 holes are all gone, completely disappeared. There was a couple dings over here I didn't show you, a series of dings, and those are all gone. Now I'm going to go ahead and get this all blown out and cleaned up so I can get on to the next step.